More than a century ago, members of the Seattle area Japanese community erected the Japanese Language School near the corner of Rainier and Weller. During these early days, the room served as a place for not only learning the Japanese language, but also Japanese culture and traditions. Today, Nihongo can still be heard echoing through the building's hallways and recited in its classrooms. It is also home to a number of community groups and organizations, and the three-building campus hosts dozens of cultural events and festivities throughout the year, serving as a reminder of the sacrifices and dedication made not only by our relatives, but also by you. The Japanese Cultural and Community Center of Washington is where memories are born and stories from our past are preserved. To hear a story of the school and the community center is to hear a story about us and where we've been. Just ask Irene Shigaki.
Starting with my grandfather, Kotaro, he was a carpenter, and he immigrated to Seattle via Kauai, Hawaii. And when they were building the Japanese language school in about 1912, he was one of the carpenters who helped to build it.
Most of the Shigaki family attended the school at one point in their lives. Many were even taught by Irene's mom, Yasuko, who spent more than 30 years as a teacher and then as principal at the Japanese language school. But the Shigaki family also saw the JLS as their home. The school served as a temporary home for the Shigakis and dozens of other families following World War II. The buildings were coined the Hunt Hotel and helped many Japanese Americans transition from the incarceration camps.
There was a long history, and I know exactly what room we lived in, for the 1 or 2 months that we were in the Hunt Hotel, etc. It was the older building as you go up the stairs on the right-hand side, etc.
Does anybody remember the first line of Totoro? Dareka ga kosori.
That same room now holds classes for kids. Today, the Japanese language school teaches more than 150 students, from youngsters learning their first words through lessons and songs, to adults like Pamela Okana, a sansei who wishes to reconnect with her past and heritage by brushing up on her Nihongo.
But once I started learning Japanese, I realized I knew more words than I thought I did. But they were in the back of my memory, and I had to really work to pull them up. But I think most sansei know maybe at least 100 words, but they've forgotten them. They don't realize that they know them, but when somebody says them again, you think, oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
A place of learning, a place that some of us even called home. And for some, like D. Goto, the school is even a place where we have found love.
So years ago, when I finished my nursing RN in Portland, I came up to Seattle to finish my degree at the University of Washington. And I had some time before the curriculum started. And so I took some classes at the Japanese Language School, which is the Cultural Center now. And in the class was my future sister-in-law. And since I had walked to the class and it was night, she took me home. And that's how my husband now, Sam, and I got started in our relationship. And so it served as a matchmaking place too.
At the community center, stories like these are permanently recorded through monthly workshops in a program called Omoide, the Japanese word for memory.
Okay, let me tell you how Omoide got started. I worked for the University of Washington Library Archives when they first started the collection there on the Japanese experience in the Pacific Northwest. But years later, I decided that we should develop some of our own documentation and write our own stories, and that's how Omoide got started. I got a few people together and we told our own stories.
More than 100 interviews later, the Omoide program has published 7 books with nostalgic stories from the community's past, making these sentimental narratives indelible for future generations. The community center is a place where all generations can reconnect or even discover their Japanese family's history and legacy. Johnny Ueno Valdez says he was extremely close to his grandparents.
I knew my grandfather well, but I was only 8 years old, so I didn't know about this whole other side.
This whole other side was his grandfather's experience of forced incarceration at Minidoka in Idaho. In 2012, Johnny joined a group hosted by the community center that plans an annual pilgrimage to the Minidoka incarceration camp in Idaho. Johnny says visiting Minidoka has helped him better understand his grandfather, who passed away in 1990.
It allowed me to finally put the pieces together and see it in the flesh.
While on the pilgrimage, Johnny photographed hundreds of photos that had been edited into a photo essay he titled My Minidoka. They're now on display at the Japanese Cultural and Community Center.
I think for me, this is the perfect venue for my exhibition, and it's kind of like coming back home, and it's full circle, and I don't know, it's a great honor. It's been an awesome experience.
Exhibits like Johnny's Minidoka photo essay is a powerful example of how the JCCW connects the Japanese American community to the past. Exhibits are on display year-round in the center's Northwest Nikkei Museum. These historical presentations are produced from the center's staff, volunteers, and interns. Interns like Austin Soriano.
I think the museum is great for not just the Japanese American community, but more importantly for the whole community as a whole. Japanese Americans have been involved in so much towards America, and it's nice to actually pinpoint and take one general area and highlight that to kind of show the community that, hey, there's more to Japanese American history than hardships.
Austin and his peers are currently researching for the museum's next exhibit, which will showcase the spirited history of Nikkei baseball in Western Washington. The school and the community center also serve as the cultural heartbeat for Japanese and Japanese Americans living in Western Washington. Programs and performances are held year-round. And weekly activities like karate, judo, and taiko are just a few of the many opportunities that help connect the local community with Japanese culture. Linda Inikawa has been practicing taiko for 3 years.
And for me, and I think all of my classmates, this is a great lesson, not only in the art form of taiko, but also we learn so many things about Japan. I have native Japanese classmates, and when we ask questions, Nintaro's always willing to share as much information about whatever we're asking. So it's a cultural, as well as a language, as well as an instrument lesson, I think, for all of us. We have a great time.
Together, through staff, volunteers, and community support, the school and the community center will remain dedicated to preserving, promoting, and sharing Japanese and Japanese American history, heritage, and culture.
ありがとうございました。